Nepalese public is not exposed to much Western influence, so advertising will have to take place in everyday products and signs throughout the major cities. Throughout the park, we will cooperate with artisans and craftsmen to promote the diverse cultural artwork and handicrafts of Nepal. We also, of course, have days where we hold special festivals where tourists would explore the diverse culture and tradition of the Nepalese people during these days. Our featured film named Akanksha would portray the importance of animals and nature in Nepali culture, a gripping story about a leopard club, Akanksha, who teams up with his friend, Amisha, a calf, after the loss of their parents to find the wise Yeti who lives on top of the Himalayas to seek his help. Will they make it? Will the Yeti be able to help them? Find out when Akanksha is out in theaters. Merch would also include the plushies of the snow leopard, the wise Yeti, and the baby cow, as well as cultural items of crafts. There will be a territory dedicated to the livelihood and tradition of Nepali people, generally the more common ethnic groups, but we would try to also include the minorities as much as we can throughout the park.
In 200 AD, a group of people called the Luchavis took power in Nepal. The first documented history in Nepal beginning with the Changyu Narayan temple inscription of King Mandeva I of the Luchavi dynasty. This was followed by the Thankuri dynasty, to which King Rahu Deva started the Nepal era. He was also starting to build a city out of one single tree named Kastamandapa, from which the name of the capital Kathmandu was inspired by. The 12th century Malla kings reigned over Nepal, with the caste system introduced in the 14th century. Then, skip forward to 1842, Nepal was broken and split into many states, but then reunited in the 18th century during the Shah dynasty. They formerly had a treaty of friendship signed with Britain and India in 1923, though they were never occupied by Britain or any other outside foreign country. Soon in the 20th century, there was a struggle for democracy over the monarchy that existed, to which democracy won in May of 1991, where Nepal held its first election in nearly 50 years, forming the first elected government in 32 years. Then, in the 1990s, there was a civil war amongst the Nepalese, to which there was a rise to power of the Communist Party of Nepal. In the end, there was a coalition of 7 parties that resumed control of the government and stripped the monarchy of its power, forming in 2008 the proposed state of what we know now as the Republic of Nepal.
When you look at the culture of Nepal, it is really a blend of the surrounding Kathmandu Valley. Encompassed by both China and India, many cultural elements of Nepal remain a place of religious importance, as their lives support the Siddhartha Gautama, Buddha, and about 80% of the population being Hindu. Kathmandu attraction in response is the Pashupatana temple, known for its Hindu influence, but also as a tourist attraction. Nepal Disney will also be close to the mountainous regions home to the ethnic Sherpa peoples. Another point of interest is the folkloric Yeti of the Himalayan mountains, and specifically the location of Mount Everest. Although about 123 languages are spoken in Nepal, Nepali is the most common and will be the primary language of choice in Disney Nepal. However, to be most inclusive, the provided app will help translate the majority of the Indo-European languages spoken, including English. While the Constitution has supposedly eliminated discrimination based on caste, class differences still exist. Nepalese cuisine comprises a variety of Asian themes, mostly inspired by Tibet, Chinese, Indian, and Thai origins. Lentils, curry, rice, chicken, buffalo, and noodles are staple foods. For the holiday of God Jatra, a horse race will presumably prevent the demons from returning. Holi will have parades of all sorts of hues, and people shall be encouraged to wear lots of colors to celebrate good. And the holiday of An Tran, classical dance will be performed by different communities, and Kumari, a goddess, will pass through the park by chariot in commemoration. The largest holiday, Dashain, however, will have an open market and discounted food to facilitate feasting for 10 days, which rejoices victory. Another territory will be the picturesque block featuring the distinctive pagoda, stupa, and shikara styles architecture, while as playing Nepalese music and featuring Disney versions of Nepalese folklore.
Nepal has a national highway system running in the entire southern regions of the country, which includes the Kathmandu-Kathari Highway running through Kathmandu itself, and the park will be off of the highway. Nepal does not have many natural resources, and it already imports many of the resources it requires. It also has a lackluster power grid and water supply, as only 53% of people had access to electricity in 2010, and most of the water there is contaminated by industrial and domestic waste. However, we could fix this by using renewable energy sources such as solar and wind generators for electricity, make use of water filters and purifiers to ensure that drinking water is safe to consume. Nepal also currently has a self-sustainable steel and iron industry under the current market demand. Nepal has an unemployment rate of 3.5%, which means the labor force may be hard to come by, which we may be able to solve by bringing in foreign workforces. As for transportation to and from the park, the city of Kathmandu has an international airport that tourists may travel to. There are also plans of a metro system that have not yet been funded that we could utilize for the purpose of a monorail. The northern and central part of Nepal is a mountainous region with much higher altitudes than the Indo-Gangetic Plain. However, the southern regions are generally much flatter than the rest of the country, and this is where the park could be built. Nepal is pretty temperate but can get pretty hot in the summer, with averages of 72 degrees Fahrenheit in the spring, 86 degrees in the summer, 64 degrees in the fall, and 50 degrees in the winter. Rainfall depends on each region in the season. However, the average is 1600 millimeters every year, the majority of which is during monsoon season. As such, the best time to visit is right after monsoon season, which is June to early October. The park can be open in spring and fall, and sometimes during winter and summer. Nepal is also prone to many natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, avalanches, landslides, etc. By training personnel for emergencies as well as planning in advance by building shelters, separate water sources, and making the park more structurally sound, damage can be kept to a minimum and guest safety can be secured. We can also use reinforced concrete for roads to reduce any damage that earthquakes may do and flexi-pave for areas prone to flooding.
Safety in Nepal persists as an ambiguous situation. However, there is already a large touristic industry with the popularity of Mount Everest and the Himalayas, and thus a higher acceptance of Western peoples. While there isn't a high rate of serious crime, pickpockets are highly prevalent. In response, a dedicated currency known as the Nepalese rupee is accessed by an account which covers all the expenses needed in the park. However, terrorists are likely to carry out attacks as seen by the May 2019 Kathmandu bombings. Since then, the Nepal Army has defused bombs, and law enforcement has increased security at the command of the government. In response, there will be more intense screenings to enter the park and a larger police force that will be trained to be there for the safety of both tourists and citizens within the proximity. The tickets that are bought can also be required to provide an extensive identification more than a normal amount.
Without further ado, meet Nepal.
you